Alright, what's up guys, what's up? It's alertwolf here to bring you another review, but just real fast. Let's see, this is Transformers Prime I'm doing. It's Season 2, Episode 23, and it's called Inside Job. And basically, it starts where the other episode ends off. You know, they capture Smokescreen, and they're about to trying to figure out, you know, what's going on and how he's the key, or if he knows where the next key is, or the next artifact. They don't even know what it does yet. The Decepticons. The Autobots realize he's in trouble. He's been captured. They figure they don't think the Decepticons know the importance of the keys yet, because how could they? But they know he's in trouble, and they figure he may be a container. This is right before we just learned there was, because in scanning him, they found out it was there. Now, Knockout had taken the phaser, and by the way, the phase shifter. By the way, this is the first, this is not the first time, obviously, in sci-fi or whatever, that you have people that can walk through walls and get shifted to a different dimension. But this is the first time anybody has ever addressed why you don't just simply fall through the floor. And he goes, oh, it got good balance. Look, I don't slip through the floor, so I'm not falling. He goes, but I can't go right through you. This is well designed. Yeah, they thought of everything. That little bit of explanation is the best and only explanation I've ever heard of anything that does anything serious in any other shows. I've even heard the shows, I've even watched shows where they've joked about it, like, I don't get why we don't just fall through the floor or drift aimlessly. I don't know how this works. So there's always been jokes, but this is the first attempt at an explanation. I dig this. Alright, so Knockout gets the phase shifter. He uses it to go inside Smokescreen and pull the other key out, which is probably how it was put in there in the first place, unless... No, it wasn't. It was surgery. That's something else, too. Right before that, when the Autobots were talking, they pretty much figured that it was Alpha Trion who knocked out Smokescreen, and I guess he couldn't send the last pod containing the last key, so he sent Smokescreen instead. And he didn't want Smokescreen to know it was there in case he was captured and tortured. Alright. So they get the key out of him. And then Megatron wants to know what the key does, and he's like, you'll never know. There's a joke about they couldn't use the device to go into his head. Megatron's, but luckily we do have a device that can do that. So Megatron mind probes him. He gets put on screen, and you see the memory of what happened, where Optimus explains everything. Which is funny, because it's the same audio track, but just slightly from a different point of focus as when it originally played, which I think is crucial, because it's supposed to be from Smokescreen's point of view. So the fact that the camera's in a slightly different spot, even though it's the same voice and dialogue, is pretty cool. So then, sorry, I'm a little congested. Lately I've been having an allergy or cold ever since I started reviewing. I think YouTube is trying to get me. Nah, I'm just kidding. But so then it progresses along. Now they know what the keys are used for, and Megatron's like, if I had the keys, I could make Cybertron the way I want. And basically, now he's after the keys. So he leaves the room and further puts down Knockout as like, I can't trust you to put these keys in. He goes, go into his mind and find out the location of the Autobot base, because we need to get these coordinates. And so he goes to get him. He goes to do what he was about to do. He goes to set up, and Smokescreen touches the phase shifter, and starts to fight and struggle with Knockout, basically phase shifting him off the chair, and they get into like a scuffle, and they end up phasing through the wall, and then he took off the phase shifter, which is like a watch on him, and he took that off, leaving Knockout half in the bulkhead. Ha! More humor. No, half in the wall. Not in. He wasn't into bulkhead. And leaving him stuck. Then Smokescreen goes off, and using his favorite device, he takes the key from Megatron, goes into the vault, gets the other key, the second key, and proceeds to try to escape. Now, what I find funny here is, personally, I would have, you would think in that vault, the hammer of Solus Prime should have been in the vault too. It was funny that it wasn't. What did he just... Because it even looked like... What did he leave it in the room he worked on? He's just like, I fucking left the hammer there. I didn't put it in the vault. Just left my tools laying around. So, I thought it was funny that the hammer wasn't in the vault, because in my head I'm going, oh, good. He'll grab the key, he'll see the hammer, grab the hammer, and take both them things and get out of here. Maybe start whomping people with the hammer, because then you figure, oh, I could repair the Star Saber with the hammer. But no. No, that didn't happen. The hammer wasn't in there, so he didn't even know about the hammer. So he goes throughout the ship, he escapes, he gets to the top of the ship, and Megatron's like, what are you going to do? It's too bad you can't fly. He's like, I won't let that's not me. And he jumps off the cliff, and he proceeds to fall. And then he radios in to Ratchet to try to ground bridge him. At first, Ratchet couldn't do it because he had to figure out why his position was so erratic. And then he figured out he was in free fall. And he tried 2 times to get him into the ground bridge, but both times he was intercepted by Decepticon. I guess, the underlings of the Decepticons, the non-important Decepticons, the drones, basically. And so he misses, and I figured he was going to just phase shift and fall on the floor. I figured that was going to happen, and they made it look like, because he was on one of the jets, and they crashed into the ground, so they made it look like he fell to his death, but in reality, he didn't fall to his death. He, phase shifted into the floor, and then ran through rock and whatnot, and phased into the base. So, they get into the base, he shows off 2 keys, they realize that Megatron never had the other key, and must, somebody else must have it. And then right then and there, we also get a couple of clips of, right before this, we get a couple of clips of Starscream. And Starscream's trying to figure out what to do. He has 1 key, and he's like, if I had all the keys and remade it in my image, I'd be king of Cybertron. But he's like, but seriously, that's a nice dream and all, but I don't have the army, the infrastructure to run my empire. I don't have a ship. Megatron has a ship, so he's trying to figure out what he's going to do, what's his best play. I have a half shot of the speed left. I have 1 dead body of a clone. I have a ground bridge remote control. And so he's like, what to do? So he tries to formulate a plan. Alright, and then this stuff, because I skipped that part. So then the other stuff just happens, and then they're back in the base and whatnot. Alright, so now let me bring you back to where I was. So now, he hits them up. He hits up the Autobot saying he found this artifact, it's useless to him. He wants to trade it in lieu of surgery to have the T-cog put in, which is the transformation cog, that's what it stands for. From the clone, basically, and that they're for allowing him to transform once again into the jet, go into vehicle mode and whatever. And they're like, it's a risk, but if he doesn't know what it does yet, Optimus is saying, then we have a chance, and it's worth giving him flight in order to get the final key. All right, but so they open a ground bridge to the location he's at, and here you see Starscream's genius at work. So Starscream, so you have the clone sitting there, and like they're like, oh, Starscream is dead. Using his super speed, which he moves like the Flash, he goes inside, because the ground bridge is still open, and they're guarding both ends of it. He goes inside the ground bridge so fast that the Autobots don't even see him. He comes out on the other side again so fast that they don't even see him. And he proceeds to he's like, I could kill all of you, but I gotta find these keys. So he starts looking for the keys. He eventually finds the keys. There's an explosion in the base. People hear the explosion, and then he moves at super speed. At the same time, the other guys figure it out that it's the clone body because he's been dead for too long. So, Optimus orders RC to shut down the ground bridge, and that's gonna happen. And as she's shutting it down, he's moving it. Starscream's moving at super speed. So, and it's a cool effect. I will say this because the sprinklers go off, so there's water falling very slowly, and Starscream's moving so fast he's like moving in between the drops, and he's like, now to kill you guys, and he's like, she's closing the ground bridge. I need to escape. So he escapes, and the Autobots are there waiting for him on the other side. They had her drop on him, and they start talking slowly, and that's kind of funny. And Starscream's like, "Ha ha, super speed, bitch!" So he goes around them. He's like, "I'm over here," and then his super speed wears off, and they get the drop on him, and they start shooting at him. He's running away. He shoots like a missile at them to stall him, and he's running. And then you see the controller, the ground bridge controller. So he ground bridges out of there. Optimus, and he escapes with all 4 keys. Optimus, does one of these, and you find out, he's like, oh man, basically Cybertron's in Starscream's hands now. So the next thing and basically he's like, who knows where this is going. What he does is Starscream. The next thing we have is Knockout is in the wall, and he's like, please let me out of here, master. Talking to Megatron. Megatron's like, no, fuck you, you failed me. I'm gonna leave you there as an example, you idiot. Basically, he's just gonna punish him, and the next time he needs a doctor, he's gonna have to cut him out. But, he goes, we have to find the Autobot base. We got to attack immediately before Optimus has time to go to Cybertron and rebuild Cybertron. And as he's saying this, he's walking out of the bridge. Starscream's there, and he's like, been there, done that. And Megatron's like, what? Starscream's like, I got keys, bitches. And then that's about where the episode ends. And basically, as I said, my predictions were right. I said in last week's episode that Starscream was going to be a key player to figure out what direction he wants to go in, and he chose a side, so he's choosing Megatron for right now. I mean, but Starscream is good. I say so. If there's two things I like to say: Smokescreen for the win in this friggin' episode, and Starscream for the win in this friggin' episode, because those guys did the most work on this episode. And yeah, it was great. Starscream incorporated everything into his plan. I love to see that. I love to see that type of planning. One was able to achieve his goals through reckless action. The other one achieved his goals through careful planning, and he outsmarted everybody. And now he's in his own position of power. I always liked that about Starscream. So, I think this episode, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I say this episode was good. It wasn't a great episode, and it wasn't amazing, and an excellent episode. And it, didn't have anything epic. It didn't. But from you got a chunk of the story. Things are starting to move in a certain direction. And I dig the Starscream stuff. So I enjoyed this episode. Again, it was a good, solid episode. And we just get to see how quickly your fortunes can change. Megatron's fortune at the beginning of this episode was great. He had captured Smokescreen. They got the phase shifter. They found another key. He gets the knowledge of where the key is. And with Smokescreen, he was going to get the location of the Autobot base, and he was going to finally finish his enemies off. And that was his fortune at the beginning of the episode. Then at the middle of the episode, Smokescreen goes from imminent doom and betraying everything he stands for to turning it into a windfall and getting two of the keys back. So giving the Autobots a great position, 3 out of 4. And we also have Starscream's position. He has 1 out of 4 keys. He has barely anything to work with. But given what he had to work with, he was smart enough to devise a plan to get everything he wants thus far to accomplish his goals with what limited resources he had available. And so Starscream's stock goes way up in this episode. He steals back the keys. He doesn't steal back. He steals the keys. Now he has all 4 keys. And that gives him a power position to bargain with Megatron. And that's how the episode ends off. So in the end, you know, Megatron, his stock goes back. So, you know, goes back up. So again, it's cool to see how fortune folds. But again, like I said, rate this episode a 3 out of 5. I enjoy it. I say watch it. Things are getting quite interesting. And, alright, so I'm just saying click it up if you like it. Comment if you can. Subscribe if you must. And this is Alert Wolf signing off.